Okay, this time I know it's definitely working. So, yes, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another brand new Rugby Muscle Podcast Q&A edition. Although this one, we aren't going to be dealing with too many questions because we're going to go through TJ's / Santa's Christmas list on this episode. We're going to work through TJ's list is the list of 5 things that you should not be worrying about buying and that would be better off with your money spent elsewhere. And Santa's list are the 5 things that I think you definitely should be considering investing in if you want to have the most productive training in 2021, and training and dieting and all the big benefits that come from that. Before I get into that, though, of course, I will mention, give it a thumbs up and comment below. I want to know your reactions to these 5 things that I'm going to say that you shouldn't buy, and also the 5 things that I say you shouldn't buy, and also the honorable mentions that we'll get into before we actually get into the top 5 list. Plenty of interaction on this one would be awesome, both on the YouTube stream and on the Facebook live stream, because it will help get into people's feeds. It helps with the algorithms, as I always say. Just a little comment, it really does. Like, even if you just say good, any comment, even if it's just banter, it really does help out the algorithms and it helps spread the show. And that's what we want to keep doing here at Rugby Muscle. We want to keep growing just as we did through 2020 through 2021. So thank you guys all so much for joining. Let's get into the 5 things that we should not be buying and that we should be buying or considering buying to enhance our training in 2021. I will also mention that I haven't completely forgotten about the series of stupid shit I've done in the pursuit of gains. In fact, there'll probably be some honorable mentions of that in this episode itself. So hold off on that, and I'll get back into that series when we get back into regular Q&As. Okay, so for some reason, there you go. Get out of the way there. Let's keep going here with our honorable mentions. So, did you like that little transition that I did there? Now that we're gone straight into this special presentation sort of screen. Honorable mentions. So these are the things that haven't quite made it in the top 5 or the bottom 5, and it's not because they're without value, but it's either because they've been mentioned before or because they've got good things and bad things, so I can't put them in either top or bottom 5, or because I've mentioned them many times before, or they're really popular, or it might offend. There's one here that might offend some people if I say that it's in the bottom 5, so I'm not going to do that. Supplements. I think we can all understand that we've all seen people make significant transformations because they've invested in supplements. Sometimes that's just because, and I thoroughly believe this, that supplements they make the smallest bit of difference. Really, you could have people in the most fantastic shape that have never taken a single supplement. The real reason, in fact, 100%, the real reason that nobody does that, or nobody sees anyone that's in the most phenomenal shape and isn't pushing any supplements on you, is simply because this industry is massively, when I say this industry, I mean the fitness industry, the strength and conditioning, but the fitness industry as a whole is massively subsidized by the supplement industry. And because of that, they fund most of the magazines or the websites now, I guess, rather than this magazines. Influencers are, a lot of them are full-time athletes because they are getting subsidized, not just supplements, but they're getting paid by supplement companies as well. You get other people that are just, and then we see this model, and then it just keeps sort of self-fulfilling. So, people will see those successful guys that are pushing the supplements, so then they'll want to become successful themselves, so they'll push the supplements themselves, and it ends up just being self-fulfilling. However, you can get phenomenal results without taking any supplements. I truly believe that, but making that investment, making that commitment, whether that's a financial investment or a commitment to, do something every day, if it's creatine, right? If you remember to take your 5 grams of creatine every day, probably not going to do that and then go and have 12 Krispy Kreme donuts to start your fat loss diet for breakfast. Likewise, if it's if you're making that financial investment, you're making that commitment to have your supplements every day, you're going to then just be on a more of a mental in a strong place mentally, and that might help you get better results. I do believe that. I don't know how much of a difference most of them make. I would say creatine is the one that's the most proven, but it's also by far the least glamorous, and the actual evidence is overwhelmingly positive, massively compared to every other supplement out there, but it's still tiny. What's a much better supplement is sleep and food, right? And getting the right training. And people don't want to hear that, but that's the reality. And I will keep saying that until the day I die, probably. Unless before I die, we can't have some sort of absolute magic supplement that does do everything. But if it does, it'll probably get banned, because it'll probably end up being more of a performance enhancing drug. So I don't know. Don't know where I'm going with that. Let's move on. Shall we? Health trackers. So, full disclosure, I've got my Aura ring on here. I've put health trackers rather than workout trackers, because I do think that workout trackers, I'm not buying into any of them. I don't think any of them are very good in terms of like continually predicting your heart rate. I think the algorithms are massively inaccurate in terms of like how much weight is put towards certain aspects. It's very much an individual thing when we're looking at recovery, when we're looking at how you are ready to perform. And HRV is very individual. It's very long term. It's just not something that you could just say, oh, this is your HRV. You must be able to, you just can't train today. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. And at the same time, I know Sean asked in the comments below about the Whoop band. Now, I'd say the Whoop strap's probably one of the worst. Not because it doesn't work or anything like that, or it's less accurate. It's just the fact that it's a continual financial cost, because you have to pay for the membership. So you don't just pay for the band, but you continually have to pay. And what you're paying for, essentially, I don't really know. Like, anyone that's got a Whoop band, that's had a Whoop band for a certain period of time, or had any of these health trackers, right? Once you get them for a certain period of time, all it does is bring this stuff to your own awareness, from what I've seen, right? Which means that, like, when you woke up and you felt kind of crappy, you'll know that you're probably going to look to your watch or look to your app or whatever. It's probably going to tell you, yeah, you probably had a crappy night's sleep. You know when you feel crappy. You don't need a band to tell you that. And on the flip side, sometimes if you feel quite good, you don't feel that bad, and then your watch or whatever it is tells you that you're feeling bad, then you're gonna, like, it's just not, then you're gonna give yourself your own little placebo effect and actually potentially perform worse or feel more tired, because you're having this data that's telling you how bad you should feel. I just think that we're investing a little bit too much into this, whereas what we can just do is keep track of our own data, which I'm going to get into as we go into these top fives and bottom fives. I will do a whole review on the Aura ring and health trackers in general, and I need to get that out before Christmas. So that'll be out in the next 2 weeks if you're watching on Facebook Live, or it'll already be live in the YouTubes. So search around for Rugby Muscle health trackers and Aura ring, and it'll be up on YouTube. Clothes, I think workout training gear is quite cool, because I do think that there's a little bit of a motivational factor to, look good, feel good kind of thing. And if you invest in some nice, cool, people don't want to say this out loud, but if you invest in some nice gym gear that makes you feel good, it might potentially at least have you in the short term be a bit more motivated to go to the gym, and it might make you just, then actually go to the gym and stay more consistent with it. And I think that can be good. However, if you're investing, all of your money towards that, and you're still training like shit, that's when it can become bad. That's why it's only in honorable mentions, because we've got good and bad aspects to both areas of clothes. If you're wearing a full Gymshark tracksuit, but you're not even doing any squats, like, you got to question whether that's actually worth it. What I'm doing here is checking on the feed. Just if you were wondering what the fuck is going on with your screen, I thought it would, the PDF wouldn't actually get in the way, but it looks like it would cover the whole screen, but it looks like it got in the way. Anyway, let's move on. What's the next one? Honorable mention number 4 is meditation apps. Just because I've gone on and about them for enough time, and I think you don't also need an app. I just think you need a meditation routine. You could just use any sort of timer. I've started to really become an advocate of 10 minutes is like sort of the way people crowbar meditation in by saying, oh, you only need 10 minutes a day. But I do think that 10 minutes is sort of like telling you that you can learn how to swim in a paddling pool. So at some point you've got to go into the deep end to get the real benefit. I think that kind of works. Or a better analogy is telling you how good an ice bath is, and then just saying, oh, all you need to do really is sit in lukewarm water. Like, yes, like it's easier than actually sitting in an ice bath, but you're not going to get the benefit. And I do think that's the case with meditation. I think you need to meditate for, I think it does need to be 15 or 20 minutes for you to really get the full benefit of meditation. And it could just be 15 20 minutes concentrating only on your breath. Your mind will go off and on, and then you'll just keep bringing it back to the breath. And it's really difficult to begin with, and especially to begin with, you'll find every excuse in the book to not do it. But the more you get back to it, and this is where apps help, the more you can get back to starting in the first place, the more you can keep consistent with a routine, the better you get at it. And the more you realize that it's okay that you kind of suck at it, but the more it becomes a routine. And then all of a sudden, in like a month's time, just make a month commitment to do 15 to 20 minutes a day. And then if at the end of the month it hasn't benefited you at all, you can just drop it. But nobody's done that. I've never known anybody that's done consistent meditation for a month and then said, oh, that's not benefiting me at all, I don't need to do that. Like it does have a huge benefit. And it applies to everyone here on Rugby Muscle, because the lower stress levels that it gives you massively enhances your recovery, and allows you to get more gains. Speaking of recovery tools, I've gone on about these too much, so they didn't make the bottom 5. They would have been in the bottom 5, but also the other reason I didn't want to put them in this list, you know, you've got foam rollers now that basically look like dildos. You've got those the guns that are just they're a drill with a snooker ball on the end or some shit. You've got like every sort of crazy recovery mechanism under the sun. I just think, why don't we just train smarter? Like, that's the best way to recover, particularly if you're someone that works a regular job. Like, you're not trying to train 5 times a day and have to recover from those. You're not trying to compete in the Olympics. If you're just someone that works a regular job, you don't need this stuff. It's just unnecessary. I think you'll cause yourself unnecessary stress if you think that you need recovery stuff. Now, having said that, there are very specific use cases where they can help, particularly the gun. If you've got a stiff area, a tight area, a pain point, it can give you temporary relief. You then have to move to continue that relief, but it does help. And finally, I would say on the recovery tools, if you're currently using one and you feel like it's benefiting you, have at it. Like, that's the other reason it doesn't make bottom 5, because if you are using something that you think is of a very good benefit to you, and then I've just told you that it's in my bottom 5, that might stop that benefit from you because it might be a placebo effect. So not the one that you're using. If you're using a recovery tool, it's perfect for you. Don't stop using it. You're the exception, okay? Definitely your one does work. So it's not a placebo effect. It definitely does work, okay? That's me trying to get you to understand that if you believe in it, it will work still. So sometimes they do definitely have benefit, and we just don't know what they are, okay? Cool. Now, without further ado, let's get into the bottom and top 5. So the way this is going to work is we're going to do something you shouldn't buy and something you should buy. And that's as simple as that. We're going to work through all 5. The first one I've got here is workout apps. Jesus fucking Christ, I'm seeing tons and tons of ads when I'm scrolling through my Instagram or when I'm just watching YouTube or whatever for all these different workout apps. And actually, as a fitness business owner, I'm getting a million commercials also for people telling me that I need to make my own app. I've done that before, and I found that actually just getting consistent training is by far better, and we can do that through Google Sheets, and we can do that through Notion, my own database, and we will have the spoiler alert, in 2021 there will be a Rugby Muscle members area, but you won't be getting your training delivered through an app. These apps just I don't know why I've put much better to drag a sled or just work acceleration. That was for a different point. Now, for workout apps, it's just, you don't need more exercises. You don't need random shit given to you to do. Like, that's just exercise. And if you're someone that just needs to work out to burn calories and you have no other benefit that you want to get from training, you don't give a shit if you're going to get better at rugby, you don't give a shit if you're going to build muscle, you don't give a shit for anything else. Literally, all you're doing is trying to burn calories. Even then, I would say that you should do some sort of structured weight training where you incrementally add weight and improve, because that would grow muscle, and muscle would then continually burn more calories throughout your day-to-day life. So therefore, even then, I'm not a big fan of this. I know that it has a place for some people, maybe, but if you're someone that listens to Rugby Muscle Podcast, stop with this random shit, man. Like stick to something. Set yourself some long-term goals for the whole of 2021. What do you want to accomplish? Let's slowly break that down into 52 weekly goals and figure out exactly what we need, and stop doing random shit, please, okay? Instead of that, let's get a quality journal, okay? Invest in a really nice one, and this is something that I found struck a real good chord with me this year, because the amount of I can even look down here and see I've got a bunch of like really cheap notepads that I've bought, and I kept getting them over time because I'm like, I just want to write down notes, and then I start a new journal and I think, right, I'm going to use this as my training log, and then I'm going to use this one. Reality is, if you've got a really shit notebook, it's not motivating, and it's kind of similar argument to what I said before with regards to the like buying the clothes and looking good, feeling good. If you've got a real nice training journal, yes, over time it can become very weathered because of sweat, and the way you write on it and stuff. But if you get a real nice journal and you've got to get a pen that's dedicated to only using it in that journal in the gym, you're going to be more motivated to log your training. Likewise, you can actually use this really nice journal to, log everything on a week-to-week basis. And this stuff is actually been proven to be of a benefit, not just if you reflect upon it, and which is obviously what I would advocate. You look back on your training and say, oh, this last January I did this, and I did actually feel like I was more explosive at this period of time, and maybe I should start to re-include that, or whatever it is, right? You learn your lessons because you've logged everything down. Like, for example, it's very good to write stuff down because you're not supposed to store stuff in your head. And I'm going to skip a few points here, but your brain is not meant for storage. Your brain is meant for problem solving, task. It's meant to accomplish tasks, not store tasks. It's not a storage thing. It's a processing thing. So get stuff out of your head. I can't remember, for example, and it might be the old concussions thing, but I can't remember what I had for breakfast, right? But I've got it written down, and therefore I've got a log, and I've got a long-term log of my food. I've got a long-term log of my training, and I'm able to keep going with this stuff, learn my lessons, and keep track of everything over the long term. It's been one of my most, if not my most productive year of training, because I've been more consistent than ever with logging my stuff. Likewise, if you're talking about like making long-term game plans for your life, for happiness and trying to accomplish goals, writing that stuff down, even if, again, you don't revisit that stuff, writing it down does make it a lot more powerful. Same thing for if you just want to note down daily gratitude. That's something that's been proven in the science. You don't have to go back and look at this stuff, but if you just note it down each day, you spend some time thinking about it, and you really do become a happier person. A happier person makes more gains because they are less stressed and because they are going to be able to recover better. And also, if you're happier, you're happier. You're not thinking that you're going to be happier once you've lost those extra 10 pounds, or you're going to be happier once you've gained 5 extra kilos on your bench press, or whatever it is, right? You're happier. Like, that's something that we should all be striving to do in life. Okay, so a quality training journal. It doesn't have to be, $50 or anything, but getting a nice one. I can't remember the brand. Maybe it'll come back to me. But for now, it's completely slipped the brain. But you can get some really nice books, from different. I guess they still have bookstores, but whatever. Even from like your Targets or your Tesco's or wherever, or your Amazon, just get a nice book and then make it your own. I would absolutely advocate doing this. And even if you think, right, yeah, why am I spending $30 or £20 on a blank, book, when I could just be getting some from the dollar store or from the pound store, and getting the thing really cheap. And it's because you want this book to last you for the whole year. So why not invest in it? Cool. Okay, number 4, digital body fat measurement tools. The amount of people that get these most really fucking fancy scales, and they sign up, and people have to pay for those. I can't even remember the name. in-body scanners. They pay to get their body scanned. Like, it's just an estimate, and it's kind of pointless, right? Because you know your body weight. Like, you should have a scale already, and spoiler alert, that might be something that you should buy. You have a scale already, and then your body fat is just whatever you see in the mirror, like however you feel like you're performing. If you feel like you are carrying excess chub, you'll be able to see that in the mirror. Likewise, if you feel like you're leaning out, you'll also be able to see that in the mirror. You'll also be able to feel that, both of those changes on the pitch, how you run, how you perform. And if you, it kind of goes back to that nocebo effect. If you're telling yourself that, actually, no, this is a good change, I'm feeling better, you just perform better. Who gives a shit what what a random electrical impulse through your body tells you that your body fat is? It just doesn't make sense. And then to compare them to other people, it just doesn't make any sense. Any of this stuff, like even like the sport, right, where they get people on stage and they judge them for having as little body fat as they can and as much muscle as they can. None of them give a fuck about what people's body fat percentage are. They don't look on stage and go, oh, that guy's 2%, that guy's 4%. No, they say who looks the best, right? That's what it is. And that's like, kind of goes to show the point. And the same thing, you're not looking at anyone, there's no one putting their body fat percentage when they are filling out their squad. For the match day programs, you don't see, Billy Vunipola, 122 kilograms, 17% body fat. You just don't see it. It's just a pointless thing, and it's a pointless waste of your time. Just instead, rather than worry about like what your body fat percentage is, just get a good digital scale, or it doesn't even have to, digital is best because it just can be consistent. Like, you can lean a little bit to the left. I've leaned to the right as I said that, and lean to the right. I've leaned to the left as I said that. And that dial might read a little bit different. So that's literally the sole reason why I like a digital scale. I now do not have a permanent house, right? But I've still got a digital scale that's like yay big, and I take it with me everywhere, because otherwise, if I didn't, I know particularly when I'm trying to gain mass, I would be gaining mass way too fast and end up being really fat. So I use this to help keep me in check. I use this to make sure I'm on the right path with my physique changes. And with my performance changes as well. Like, it's not just about if you're worrying about gaining muscle or fat or losing fat. It could be just about like, are you recovering? If you're someone that's just interested in gaining speed, but you're losing a pound a week and you're not really sure where, and you feel like you might be a little bit tired in the gym, then yeah, definitely. Likewise, if you're feeling a little bit tired in the gym and you're gaining weight, then maybe you're just not sleeping enough. Maybe you're eating too much food. So it's just a really good piece of data as your body weight. It's not the be all and end all, by far. It's definitely not, but it's a good, easy piece of data. Likewise, to couple that, I like to have skin calipers. This is something I've been sold on this year. Rather than worrying about a body fat percentage or just relying on how you think you look, because lighting, your mood, current water levels, all these things can affect that. Getting a caliper and not worrying about what the caliper reads as a body fat percentage, but just looking at the numbers, right? So you take a clip, you get one on your by your belly button, you take a pinch, you wait till it clicks, you look at what that millimeter says, maybe it says 18, right? You then do one on your pec, do the same thing, maybe it says 19. You do one on your thigh, see what that number says, and then you just have that you add those numbers together. Maybe they say 45, maybe they say 56, That's your number. That's not your body fat percentage, that's nothing. That's just your number of those three clips. Those numbers go higher, you're gaining body fat. Those numbers go lower, you're losing body fat. Simple, right? It requires, it took me less than a minute to explain it. It'll take you a minute to do every month, which is how often you probably need to do it. You can even do it every weekend. It's very easy to do. And then it also removes the emotional element of, I've got to get 10%. Like, no, you've just got these numbers that you're keeping track of. And if you're someone that's in a gaining phase and you have a certain amount of fatness that you want to allow yourself, then when you hit, maybe it's 50 or maybe it's 60 or maybe it's 70 or depending on where you measure, which sites are easiest for you to measure, you have a number that you say, right, once I hit that number, then I've got a little bit too fat. And if you hit that number within 2 weeks, that's a mistake. Likewise, if you never hit that number, maybe you can do with, eating more. So or you're just doing great. So I would say invest in those. They're cheap, I think less than $20. You can get them on Amazon. I forgot to mention at the beginning of this, there are no affiliate links or anything through this because I wanted to do this completely unbiased. I don't like maybe this will make me $5 to $10. I couldn't give a shit, right? I'd rather just be completely open and feel like you can trust me and I'm definitely trying to say these things because I think that they'll help you rather than I'm trying to make a profit. Cool. Number 3, don't buy any gimmicky equipment, right? We've had this already now, and people have been trying to take advantage just because of the lockdowns and stuff that have been in place. But they put the bans in, not because these are the personal ones, but there's so many different ones as well. And there are loads of different band variations, okay? And there's loads of different random hanging variations and different things that they say. You can get a full workout, and then you see what they're doing for squats, and you're like, oh, I'm not really sure if that works. Don't worry about this stuff, okay? This stuff is going to go. What's always going to stay for the test of time, maybe, spoiler alert, might be the thing that you might buy for number 3. But gimmicky equipment, the problem with it is that there's very limited use. Like, yes, some of them might have a real specific thing that might help you with your grip, or might help you with your neck strength, or might help you with a certain shoulder exercise, or whatever it is. They might have a real particular use that is of benefit. However, that's it. You've got this sole equipment just for this one exercise. It takes up some space, takes up time just to do this one, to set it up, whatever. And really, could you do those exercises with in your regular gym or with some normal equipment? The answer is probably most of the time. Or could you get a similar stimulus from just your body weight or just from normal regular gym equipment? The answer usually is probably yes. And I just think that this stuff comes and goes, and we've got so much waste in the world. We've got to stop creating more waste, okay? And I think that this stuff, it gets a couple uses, and I've been someone that's fallen for a lot of it. I've bought some different training tools. I'm not going to mention them all by name, but I've bought some different training tools and realized that I'm just not going to use them. I've used them a couple of times, but sometimes just the practicalities of figuring them out, the practicalities of using them week in, week out, just go down the drain. And much rather, you're better off just sticking to the regular gym equipment and continually making progress and realizing that is enough. You don't need any more gimmicky equipment. I will mention, and I should have put this in my special honorable mentions, Cobra straps, or a decent set of any Cobra straps are great. I think they're the best ones on Amazon. But any sort of, and again, no affiliate link or anything like that, but any sort of good lifting straps can absolutely have a massive benefit on your training, because sometimes, especially for things like deadlifts, you don't want to be worrying about your grip on the bar. You want to be worrying about pushing your feet into the ground as hard as you can and exerting as much force in order to lift up that bar. You don't want to be worrying about your fingers being torn to shreds. Same thing for rows and pull-ups as well, because you want to be worried about really retracting your scapula, really squeezing your back, really using your muscles that you're trying to target and benefit through doing that movement. You don't want to be worrying about whether your fingers are going to give out. No, I'm not saying that you need to have a weak grip, or you should have a weak grip, or that you shouldn't train your grip separately. But there's definitely a benefit, and I should have put that in the honorable mentions. Oh well, next time. But to go along with this, I'd say that's something that you could buy and could invest in. And spoiler alert, there's a vaccine out now for COVID. Potentially, we might be over this situation very, very soon, which means a lot of people are going to sell their gym equipment. I think there's going to be a major Black Friday coming soon for people who have invested in a ton of home gym equipment, and then they're realizing that it's not for them. This could potentially be a very beneficial thing for a lot of you guys. And a simple adjustable weight set. I've put dumbbells here, but it could be barbells. It could be a barbell and a squat rack. Could go your garage. You've got those you've got those squat racks now that fold up against the wall. I think they're quite cool. But you don't even need that. You could just use dumbbells, right? And if you've got a good set of adjustable dumbbells, you're sort of future-proofed, because you can have infinite workouts, infinite quality training sessions with those dumbbells. And I've even got some clients that I work with through Rugby Muscle Elite. They've got dumbbells over the lockdown period, and now they go back to a gym. They only have to go to the gym 3 days a week, and then they can do 2 sessions, I believe it is, that they do from home, just using dumbbells because it just saves them time, and then therefore you've invested in those dumbbells, and therefore you've saved yourself time. You're allowed to be probably a little bit more, not intuitive, but a little bit more flexible with your training. The days that you have a little bit less time, okay, that's going to be my dumbbell day, and you can sort of not have to worry about commuting to the gym, showering at the gym, doing all that stuff. You can just go back and you can just stay at home and knock out your 30-minute session. Get some quality, maybe even a smaller session. It could be just arms, that you're not going to drive all the way to the gym, clock in, go all the way just to do 15 minutes of arms. But because it's at home, it's quite convenient, and you can do that. And that's something that definitely is an option for someone that is committed. And again, it's not overly cheap, but it's not overly expensive, and it's something that over the long term, especially if it saves you a gym membership, or it saves you in going to the gym a few times a week, that does save you in the long term. It is an investment. I think it's something that again, you can use for every sort of body part. You can use, not just, I said arms, but there's no reason you can't do a full chest and back session, or a full upper body session, or even a decent lower body session with just any adjustable weight set. So definitely think that could be something that is an option for a lot of people. Number 2, weighted balls. Starting to see these come out again, and getting asked a few questions about these. These are around when I was a kid, man, and even then, never really sure of the benefit. The only thing that I remember happening from a weighted ball was a good laugh, because your boy, I'll never forget this, man. I ran out to the field for a Tuesday night training. It must have been like November. It was raining. It was dark out, and we have to walk across or run across a dark pitch to get onto the light pitch where we would start training. And I think I was late out because I was in the physio room. Come running out to after the warm-up, just to get involved. Oh, here's a ball. I went to kick it as a laugh, and it was one of those weighted balls, and it was a heavy one. I fucking nearly broke my toe, man. That hurt so much. That's a memory that's like engraved into my skull now. That really did hurt. I tried to kick that ball so hard, and it must have weighed like 3 kilos. Oh, the worst. So definitely don't do that. But definitely don't. I just don't see. There's no benefit of having a weighted rugby ball in general, right? Not just because you can just get stronger in the gym, which will then help you pass. And I spoke about this in the last Q&A, so go back and watch that if you're not sure what I'm talking about. But even worse, these weighted balls will alter your passing mechanics. You'll have to throw the ball a little bit differently to get it far, to get it to where you want to go, because it's weighted. You have to use your muscles slightly differently. It's not the same as just throwing a normal ball with more force. And then, like I said, it doesn't make you any stronger. So it's double bad. It's double negative. It just doesn't help you. And 2 negatives don't make a positive in this situation, unfortunately. Like, it's just not a good thing. It's again, limited use. I just think they're not a good idea. It's the same thing for, like, there's a reason you don't see, right? Oh, say I wanted to get a bigger golf drive, right? I wanted to get stronger. I wanted to drive the golf ball further, right? That's a terrible way of saying it. My brother's actually a professional golfer, so I should be able to give this analogy a bit more technicalities with the words, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to stick with this. You don't see people on the driving range using 5 kilo weighted golf clubs. You know why? Because it will make them swing differently. That's not the point. The point is to pass efficiently. The point is to swing efficiently with the right technique. Then use that right technique with more force. That's not the way it works if you're using a weighted ball. You don't use weighted darts to get better at darts. You don't, you know what I mean? It's just not how it works. And so, yes, you can get better at rotation. Yes, you can get better mechanics. But you don't do you can get stronger. Yes, improve your passing. But you don't do that with weighted balls. You do that by getting stronger and passing a lot, which leads me to number 2, the bro ball. I think this is the first one I've actually mentioned, a product I've mentioned by name. Definitely something I've invested in recently, because as someone that is now traveling around and someone that hasn't got a consistent base, I don't want to come back. I remember when I first came back to rugby coach, I took a year and a half away from rugby when I first retired, before I got into actual club rugby coaching. And I remember the first few times I started passing the ball about, and I was like, oh my God, like, it's kind of like riding a bike, but, when you first get on that bike after 5 years, whoa, shit, I might fall off. Like, that's kind of how it felt. I felt very, very, very rusty. Likewise, probably so many of you watching this that might have not even got back to any sort of rugby training of note at all, or maybe a couple of weeks. You might, or if you've got back to rugby training, you might have noticed when you get back and you've not done any passing, that's a skill that you have to not completely relearn, but you will be very noticeably rusty with your passing. And I think that not just to maintain how good you are at passing through lockdown or anything, but just to get better at passing, practice it. And this bro ball is quite a cool invention where it's not quite half a ball, it's about 2/3 to 3/4 of a ball, and you just pass against the wall and you get reps in. I just think it's such an easy way. It's an easy thing to do, and it's easy just to spend 10 minutes. If you spent 10 minutes a day doing this, just passing against the wall in different variations, your passing and your ball handling skills would massively improve. 10 minutes a day, and think about like how little time that actually is. Most people spend like 2 hours on Instagram a day. Like, think about that. So think about if you just did instead, you took 10 of those minutes and you spent it passing, you would get so much better. You don't need a partner. You don't even need any friends, So, boom, I'm in luck here. But you can consistently do it every day. And yes, sometimes it's not exactly like properly passing to a partner on the run or anything, but you're greasing some sort of groove. You're getting the ball handling skills going, and you can even drop this mechanically down to the most simple way of passing. Also working your hand-eye coordination. I just think it's something that, the amount of times I get asked by people like, how can I improve my passing and all this, and all right, how much do you practice passing? Kind of like. No, when people say that, I know that all they do is, before training, they stand around in a circle and they just pass the fucking ball around pointlessly. Get a bro ball, make that investment, kind of like what I said about the supplements, make that investment that you're going to really do it. And, even if it's a small benefit, you do 10 minutes every day and you will improve. You definitely will improve. Okay, we ready for number one? I can't even remember what it is. Let's see. Number one, this is the number one thing you shouldn't worry about buying. Ah, yes, recipe books. Jesus Christ. I forgot about this. There's like over 1 million recipes for free on the internet. You can literally type in 5 different random foods and you'll find a recipe for it. We don't need to be buying recipe books anymore, okay? You can then track that, if you're worried about, this recipe book has the macros. What about if you wanted to put more carbohydrates in? Then it doesn't have the macros. It's just where do I even start with this? You don't need to have a recipe book. You need to learn how to cook and then find the foods that you enjoy and then learn about the portions that you need to hit your body weight goals that you want to get. It's quite as simple as that. I do plan on making a video on this, and I was supposed to do this a long time ago because, it's so obvious to me. It's just funny. Like, you've got that Greg Doucette bloke on YouTube who constantly plugs his cookbook, and he sells and one of his best recipes is bro or bodybuilder French toast. It's just French toast with egg whites. No shit. Of course that's what you would do. Likewise, all recipe. If you see a recipe that's high carbs, there's no way I can eat those carbs. You just replace, it's rice. You just replace the rice with cauliflower rice. Simple. Likewise, if you've got a noodle dish, you just replace zucchini with the zoodles, and then you've got something perfect. It's just you can, if you learn how to be creative with recipes, if you learn how to be creative with food, by adding in more vegetables, by altering, adding whatever you need. If say you need more carbs, then you find out a way to add more rice to it or more potatoes or whatever, and you find out portions and dishes and styles of foods that you enjoy, and you learn to sort of cook them in bulk. You're onto a winner. Even I think HelloFresh, it's either HelloFresh or Blue Apron, or maybe both, they give away their recipes that they send to you that you pay for free on their website. And then you can go to a supermarket and you can buy the food for the recipes and just do the recipe yourself. this stuff, like, honestly blows my mind. It's just, I don't know, like, you need to learn 5 recipes, but once you've learned those 5 recipes, you get an idea of how to cook, and, that's it, and you just go from there. Like, protein pancakes, instead of having all the flour, you just have protein powder. Like, done. Protein ice cream, instead of just, making a protein shake, you use ice, maybe banana, or whatever you want to make it creamy. Like, I've experimented with this now, and I've used everything under the sun. They all kind of work, like, they're all good enough. And I think, like, there's just no special recipe that's going to give you anything amazing. Likewise, learning to cook, you can be as creative as you want, and you will be able to make any dish work for you. That's the end of my rant. Maybe I'll make another video on this. Maybe you guys completely disagree. I don't know. This is my podcast. I'm right. Lastly, but not leastly, what you should buy. I think this is a worthy investment that we can all get behind. Cooking equipment, some sort of good quality cooking equipment. Like, if you just have nothing to cook with, you got a really oven that smokes up every time you use it, or you've got a pan that, like, you just cannot cook eggs in because everything sticks to it. They're just not good investments. Likewise, if you've got a crock pot that you really enjoy making recipes from, if you've got one of those slow cookers and you just set it and you can make a week of meals in like 2 minutes of actual work, and then you just let it cook overnight, that's like amazing, right? Same thing for the George Foreman. Like, you can make a week of protein in 2 minutes of work. You just literally get the chicken or whatever protein source you want out, put a little bit of, the old salt and pepper or whatever on top, just whack it on, and you're done. And you spend 2 minutes not even cleaning it, and you're done. Air fryer, same thing. You want to make nice crispy vegetables, like, boom, you're onto a winner. I would say, don't buy all of these things. Buy one of them, figure out which one's going to be the best for you, because you've only got a limited amount of kitchen space, and you don't want a kitchen that is completely, like, you can't even see the surface. You want to be able to use your kitchen. And therefore, like, buy 1 or 2 of these different things. And again, it gets into the world of, like, make sure that you're going to get one that you're going to use, because you don't want to end up being, falling for the cooking versions of the weight training gimmicks that I was, like, rinsing earlier. You want to make sure that you're getting something that you are going to use consistently, and it will save you time. So ask your friends what they use. Put in the comments below which one that you use or swear by. If you've got, people that have got an air fryer, I've never heard someone that's got an air fryer and hasn't consistently used it. Although I know people that have got a George Foreman, use it for a couple of weeks and then gone, it was just easier for me to put stuff in the oven. Same thing for crock pots, but I think people just get away from them because it gets summer, and then they stop using them, and then they forget that they have them and don't go back to them. So I'd like to hear your guys' opinions on this one. What do you think? What would you do for your investment? Well, what would you invest in terms of if you had to put one piece of cooking equipment? I do think that if you get one good one, it can make a huge difference, because learning to cook and anything that can assist you in learning to cook and being consistent with cooking at home is a huge benefit to you in terms of sticking to your nutrition. Like, if you're able to do that once a week and knock out a week of protein or a week of food in a couple hours on a Sunday night or a Monday, and then you don't have to worry about it. It's so much easier to stay on track. And I think getting some good quality cooking equipment can definitely help. And yes, sometimes that is expensive, but again, you're looking at an investment, like maybe that's 3 or 4 meals out that you've saved. How much is that actually going to benefit you in the long term? I think quite big. Okay, cool. And so with that is the end of my top 5 list. I believe I do have a question to answer before I let this episode finish. I believe it's my man Hamilton once again. So we're going to continue this series where we are helping him slowly but surely not get too fat for no reason after making a lot of progress. If you recall, last week he was worried about going to 95, 96 kilos, and he wanted to get there in 2 to 3 months, and he wondered how he could do that. And he read the response, and I think he said, let me see, I'll find his initial response. He said, the guys that I'm coming up against are in as good a shape as me, but they've got more mass and size. Also, I'm starting to get more time at hooker, so the front row, I'm even lighter there. 3 to 4 kilos of mass strength would make a big difference. Now, I'm going to stop there. 3 to 4 kilos of strength would make a huge difference. You don't need to gain 3 or 4 kilos of mass to get 3 or 4 kilos of strength. 3 or 4 kilos of mass without any strength is not good at all. Likewise, being more fitter by not carrying around 3 to 4 kilos of a weighted vest could definitely benefit you. And I'm not saying that you don't need to, that you need to lose weight. I'm saying that arbitrarily gaining 4 kilos of fat for the sake of what? We haven't figured out a reason why that's good yet. If it's 3 to 4 kilos of strength, yes, but that's not going to take 2 months. That's going to take a lot longer. Or 3 to 4 kilos of tissue that is all muscle. It's going to take longer. Getting stronger doesn't take that long, but you're not going to gain 3 or 4 kilos whilst doing that. Okay, then he says, let's get back to the follow-up question. He says, here's another one. At the end of my workouts, I've been thinking about adding in one Tabata or high-intensity interval session, just a 4-minute finisher. What do you think? He's asking for it. The idea behind it is that even though I've gone harder in the gym, this might help me push my limit a little bit more and maybe replicate that last 5 to 10 minutes of a match. No, don't agree. I do not agree with this at all. Tabatas are just a way of kidding yourself into thinking that you're getting a good work. It's the equivalent of, and this is an exaggeration, right? But if you just held your breath for as long as you can, stopped, right? Got your breath. Didn't quite get your breath back. You tried to breathe normal for 30 seconds. Then you held your breath for as long as you can again. You'd be tired. Would you have got a benefit from that? No. Tabata is the same thing. Yes, it's difficult, and you do for 20. But the problem is that you go for 20 seconds and you only rest for 10. That means that you're not resting enough to work a quality enough output. You're working too long. You don't do 20 seconds in a rugby game. It's not how it works. You don't get enough quality output, and you're only working for 4 minutes. So you're not working really the heart at all. You're not working anything. You're just kidding yourself into getting a bit of a sweat on at the end of your session. No, you don't need to do that. It doesn't have really any benefit, and if anything, it might cause some unnecessary fatigue that takes away from the good things that you've done in the gym session previous to doing those to doing a Tabata. What would be better would be, I don't know, 4 minutes of actual work, core work, maybe flexibility work could be good, but I'd say core work or any sort of, you could just add a couple sets to your actual training to last out those 4 minutes. It just doesn't give you any benefit. It's not. Tabatas are a terrible thing in terms of the work to rest ratios, particularly for rugby players. Anyway, they're appealing because because people want to get results in 4 minutes. That's why they're appealing. No other reason. Okay. Oh wow, I can burn all this fat in 4 minutes. No, you can't. Just work for 4 minutes without stopping. No Tabatas, please. In terms of replicating the last 5 to 10 minutes in a tight match, here's what I would say is you should have won that match beforehand, okay? If you work better during your gym session, you'd have already won that match. You wouldn't have a tight match. The reason you've got a tight match is because you didn't do the quality work in the gym in the first place. You shouldn't worry about what happens in the last 5 to 10 minutes. You should worry about what happens in the first 70 to 75 minutes that has already put you in a place so you don't have to worry about the last 5 to 10. The reason, for example, that the All Blacks always come, you'd say, oh, they win because they're the most fittest. And same thing for the Exeter Chiefs, right? They win because they're the most fittest. It's not that they're fitter, it's that they're better. And teams have to work so hard just to keep up with them that they always gas out at the last 5 to 10 minutes, or for the All Blacks, it's probably the last 30 minutes. Those last 20 to 30 minutes for All Blacks, they always just run away from teams. And it's not because they're fitter than other teams. It's because every other team has to work so hard because the All Blacks are so fucking good that they can just carry on. The other team has to work hard just to keep up with them. They cannot last for 80 minutes, right? So therefore, their level is just that much higher. You want to make your level higher. You don't want to worry about the last 5-10 minutes of the game. You want to worry about the first 70 to 75 minutes of your game, okay? Boom. Knock that question out. We don't have any more questions, I don't believe, in the comments on this video. So that, I believe, will do us. If you've got any questions on this one, if you've got any comments on the products that I've put in my top or bottom 5, I'd love to hear from you, because we'll have a bit of a chat back and forth. As always, please, if you're watching this, give this a thumbs up. Really does help out. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already. Check out all the stuff at rugby-muscle.com. Big things are coming in 2021 and at the end of 2020. If you're looking for coaching, Rugby Muscle Elite, also linked in the description below, or on the Facebook page if that's where you are. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that listen. I'll see you in the next one.